Welcome back to the podcast. This is for the man who is stuck in his head. You've probably been on the self-development journey for a while, maybe for a little bit of time. You're listening to all of the things, all of the podcasts, all of the YouTubes. You've bought the courses. You're really putting in the work to dig deep into yourself, but you still find yourself stuck in your head, stuck in your emotions, maybe with anxiety, maybe with that back end tinge of depression that you just know is there, but you're not sure what to do with it. And you're still struggling with people pleasing behaviors, nice guy behaviors. Like, no matter how many times you hear it, and even you logically, this is the important part, you logically understand what to do. You've put in the work. Obviously, you're intelligent. You know how to integrate that logically, but for some reason, that trigger of people pleasing or being that nice guy or going out of your way, self abandoning in order to make other people feel good or to help in a way that just doesn't feel congruent with your authentic masculinity. Or maybe you've done all of this self development work, maybe you've even dropped into shadow work, and for some reason, your partner in your relationship still nagging, still criticizing, you're frustrated at the core of your being. You feel that burning anger, but you're not even sure how to be with that because even feeling that doesn't probably feel authentic to you. You probably feel like there's something wrong with you, like you shouldn't be feeling this way and you need to breathe through it more. You need to show up more from this logical place of like, I logically need to do more to be more masculine or to drop deeper into my divine masculine energy. Or if you're in the dating realm, maybe you're struggling to meet women or you're struggling to get past that first date or go on that first date, or women are friend zoning. I don't know if that's a word. Women are putting you in the friend zone rather, or ghosting you. So you're having these experiences where you're just like, what the fuck is happening? Here I am. And I actually do hear this a lot. I am the man who has put in all of this work. I have done the shadow work. I've done the self-development work. I take good care of myself. I understand, my emotions more so probably than the common man. And I'm a really, really good guy. Like I'm a good, good, good guy. And I actually work with a lot of men like this. And I personally know a lot of men like this. And I have dated, but only for a brief period of time, men like this who on paper really check all of the boxes. Like they've done the work, they're super nice, they're really good, they understand masculinity. And for some reason, and I'm just gonna give it to you really straight from like a really authentic aspect of myself just out in the real world, I'm not attracted to these men. And it took me a lot of time sitting in meditation and trying to understand like why, because I really have met men that have a lot to offer, that really have done the work. And yet there's something in like the core of my belly, like down, if you're familiar with the chakra systems, like down in the lower chakras, the first chakra, which is where a lot of that sex energy, basic survival energy is. And then even up into my second chakra, which is more this ability to be creative, but they're very kind of more primal energies that exist down there. I feel this feeling in those regions of my body that is, I'm not attracted to these men, but I want to like really, really break this down because I love you. Like I really do. And I really know and believe that it actually is the quote unquote nice guys, the good guys, the guys with integrity. Like if you're listening to this, you are that. You are the man with integrity, and you're just missing this last step, which is why things are not totally clicking into place. And the world, right? Not just women. Women want this from a man. Like I'm going to get into all this, but the world, like consciousness, planet Earth, Mother Earth, things are fucking out of balance. And what is needed is a masculine man who has gone all the way down into the root of instinctual masculine energy inside of him, who also started out as a nice guy, who has taken the journey all the way down. Because usually It's the nice guy, the good guy, where you're backed by that integrity, right? Toxic masculinity comes from when someone is connected to that instinctual energy, but has fucking done like no shadow work, no internal work. So that instinctual energy comes out very, very, very toxic. But that is the reason why women still to this day will instinctually go for the bad guy, because he's connected to this instinct. It's an instinct. And that's what this whole podcast episode is about, is that for a man, when he's on this self-development journey, he's still in his head thinking thoughts like, what do I need to do to cause my woman to feel safe? Who do I need to be to make her feel open, safe, and more feminine? And even in terms of like, how can I take care of her heart so that she opens and we can create this masculine feminine dynamic? And none of what I just said is inherently wrong or is inherently bad. And actually, none of what I just said is not something that shouldn't be filtering through your mind. I think those are actually really profound, useful concepts that is very healthy for men to be pondering and considering. However, when you get stuck there and you get stuck in looping around these thoughts and thinking into and even feeling from a heart space. So I'm kind of like going through the chakra systems, because the head space is up high, heart space is in your heart. And when you're processing these concepts just from your head and just from your heart, some men, and you'll know who you are still just in your head. Some men have dropped all the way into their heart. When you're processing those things just from those two spaces, you're still missing the instinct part. And it reminds me of a client that I had recently who is, starting to date. He's having some trouble like meeting people or just feeling like he can be in that sexual space, that flirty space with people. And we did some shadow work. His eyes were closed. And this is the most profound moment that I need everybody to know about, because he actually landed there. Is that, and this was in a little bit of a trance state. So he was a little bit hypnotized, and he goes, I don't know. I feel like I want to conquer. Like I want to conquer, like there's this conquest aspect of me. And you can hear in my tonality, because I'm really exaggerating it, he questioned it. Even his posturing leaned back, his face kind of coiled up like a little bit of a raisin when he said the word conquer and conquest. And his immediate next thing that he said to me was, yeah, but that's probably bad, right? That's probably not it. I don't know if I should be saying that. Okay. This is a man that has done a lot of self-development work, a lot of internal work. He's a really, really, really good guy. He's a good partner. He's a good dad, all of the things. And when he landed on that conquest part, it was the aspect of me, like in those lower regions of my body and those lower chakra systems, that was like, yes. And so when I told him that, I was like, absolutely, that. Drop into that. Because when a man can be in that lower conquest, conquering, instinctual energy and have integrity and be in his heart and mentally, logically understand masculinity at the same time, that man is actually unstoppable. Unstoppable with women, unstoppable in his career, unstoppable with money, unstoppable in like that drive, that instinctual masculine force in the world. Why? Because part of what makes a man so masculine and genuinely sexy outside of like any logical understanding, outside of any like visual like look, is that instinct. And the instinct is going to come through differently for each and every man. So it's not every man is going to feel this like pull for conquer and conquest. And also conquer, let me put this into the space as well. Conquer and conquest is not a bad thing, okay? Just like anger is not a bad thing, but the behavior of anger could be bad if you destroy something. The behavior of anger could also be really good if you channel it into empowerment and you take action on your best interest and everyone's best interest, and you find creative solutions to break through limiting beliefs through that anger, okay? Conquest inherently is not bad. Conquering is not inherently bad, but the behavior of conquering and conquest could be really, really beneficial and useful to all living beings on this planet, or it could be destructive. Just like if you had a knife is not inherently bad, But if you use it in a destructive way, well, that's pretty fucked up. If you use the knife in a way where you're sculpting something or you're cooking food and you're making this beautiful, nourishing meal, well, then that's really good. So the instinctual masculine energy is not bad. Like, that's what I need to tell you so badly. The instinctual masculine energy is not bad. Nice guys are not connected to that energy. Nice guys, because, and it's not your fault, okay? It is so not your fault. It's society. It's where we're at in terms of consciousness. It's a pendulum swing from a lot of the movements, like the feminist movement, that have swung men into like, oh shit, I better cut my consciousness off from the lower regions of instinct in my body and operate somewhere else. Even my heart. Okay, this is why men that are overly expressive with their emotions are a turnoff to women, because they're in their heart and they're in their head, they're not in their instinct. It's a very different experience when a man expresses his emotions from a place of instinct, because his instinct is always going to lead him toward more safety. And that's ultimately what a woman wants, what a woman is attracted to, what a woman will genuinely soften into. But when a man expresses his emotions from a place that is just in his heart and not in his instinct, it's usually going to cause unsafety for the woman. It's going to cause her to feel some sort of ick, some sort of repulsion around it, because he's not in his true masculine energy. Let me break that down a little bit more, because true masculine energy doesn't mean that you're not emotional. True masculine energy doesn't mean that you're not vulnerable. True masculine energy does not mean that you're not intelligent or in your head sometimes or a lot of the time. True masculine energy does not mean that you shove it down, stuff it down, don't feel your emotions, don't bring emotions into this space. True masculine energy does not mean that you're not intuitive, right? I mean, some of the most masculine men that I know are extremely, extremely intuitive. It's just that all of those pieces of information, all those parts of their awareness are always connected to that instinct, that lower region down in their body, that there's an expressiveness of conquering, of conquest, of going out into the world, getting what you want, of being able to fight that tiger if it attacks, of being able to make shit happen quickly in a fraction of a second the moment something is threatened. We don't have tigers attacking us, obviously, and I hope you don't either, but that is what the biology is. And so even while consciousness is expanding, our consciousness is still in the animal biology of what we've been in for hundreds of thousands of years. And so to disconnect from that is deeply inauthentic. For a nice guy to do shadow work, to do consciousness work, to do self-development work for a man, and to do all of this without dropping into his instinct is also inauthentic, because he's still cut off from that really deep masculine part of him that just has that desire. I don't know how else to explain it. Like, I feel it in my body. I hope this is translating well. But I do want to say that if you are disconnected from that, this is your verbal permission slip from Kate Colley to tap into your instinct and go for it. Because each man has, an individual, this is so important. Each man has an individual, unique expression of his seed, right? Each man has a unique expression of his seed, of his semen that comes through his hard cock. I'm getting into all the biology of it. Like, literally, the biology of it is that he has a seed that can create life from almost nothingness. It's a gift that he has to give the world. That's the biology of it. But when we take it higher into spiritual realms, because patterns exist at all levels, he has a seed of masculinity connected to his instinct, connected to when he's fully embodied in his instinct, right? That's the fully embodiment of the hard cock. He's fully embodied. He's fully erect. He's fully there in his instinct. His unique expression of masculinity is one of a kind. It is necessary, it is wanted, it is needed, and it can only come from you. And it can only come from you when you connect to that instinct, when you give yourself permission to drop your awareness down, to admit to yourself that some of these masculine desires that you have are not bad or wrong. Of course, remember the knife example. The expression of it is so important, but that's where the integrity piece lies. And I already know that you are a man of integrity, so I'm not super concerned about that. You're allowed to have that instinct. You're allowed to drop that deep. You're allowed to want what you want. You're allowed to reemerge, to dig so deep, to grab that aspect of you that honestly, society, mothers, women, like unknowingly have cut off. You've basically gotten the programming for so long of like, don't be connected to that masculine energy, that masculine instinct, because it harms people. But that's not true. It's not the masculine energy that harms people or that causes destruction or bad things to happen in the world. It's the consciousness in the individual that is channeling that energy, that has repressed parts of his heart, that can actually allow him to hurt others without seeing that it hurts himself. Okay, listen to that again if you need to, because that's toxic masculinity. And I know you're not a toxic masculine person. You have integrity. You have a good heart. You've put in the work on your self-development journey. Even if you just started, you're there and you're good. You're ready to go even deeper into the instinct. And, even as I'm just saying this, you can kind of start to see and feel into what is that instinct for you. That's your unique seed. What pops up to you first impression? Your subconscious never fucking lies to you. Your subconscious is always on point. What's that part of you that if you were to reach down so deep into the base of your fucking cock, like literally that deep, all the way down, what seed do you have to give the world? What seed of masculinity do you carry? How is it unique to you? You can journal about all of this if you want and see what comes through. And the next course of action after that is to actually just really take action on it, right? To be willing and brave enough to express that aspect of your masculinity out into the world, because the subconscious will only believe what you take action on. And so if you take action on that instinct, then that's going to be programmed into who you are. And it honestly, like literally honestly, every other logical piece of learning about masculinity will become obsolete, because you will be the living, breathing embodiment of masculinity in every part of your body. I mean, sure, you'll maybe want to still do self-development, because once you're on the journey, if you're fucking weird like me, we always like to do it all the time because it's super fun, but you won't need to. That's it. You just need to connect to that instinct and then be willing to actually take action on it. And I would imagine that, especially for a guy that has been a nice guy, has been a people pleaser, that identifies as really good, that has been cut off against his will from this aspect of him that exists as instinct, it would be really scary to actually take action on that. Because, what if I'm judged? What if it's not good enough? What will people think? I don't know if I can trust it. But the only way to build trust in your instinct is to actually do it and see what happens. You're not gonna get it perfect right away, and that's not expected of you, but you have to be willing to at least take action on it and then see how that plays out in your life. And then the next time you take action on it again, it'll be a little bit better. It'll be a little bit more refined. And then again and again and again. And eventually, like I said, you'll be the living, breathing embodiment of true masculinity. You'll have connection to your heart, connection to your intuition, connection to your logic, connection to that instinct. Anyways, I think I've circled around the points enough times to really nail it in there, but I really wanted to nail it in there because I want you to have that permission slip. I want you to know that the world needs that. The world would be honored to have that. The world would soften and come into more balance. And sexually, women want that. Emotionally, women want that. Oh my gosh. Like, even just talking about it, a man connected to his instinct, literally, it's like, okay, well, just take me, like, in all the ways. That's how my body feels. Just take me. I'm good. Like, I soften in a way that is so unparalleled. And it's so different because I've experienced both. It's so different from a man who is logically or from his heart, without being connected to his instinct, is trying to make me feel safe. It's such a different flavor. I can't even explain it. Another example that I have is that I was once in a partnership for about a year, and he was very in his masculine, but it was actually, I would say, a little bit toxic. It wasn't super toxic, but toxic enough that I couldn't stay in it. But it was actually that aspect of him being really connected to that instinct. He had no connection to his heart, but very connected to that instinct and very intelligent, that the sex was great. It was so opening. And so there was a part of me that did just kind of follow him and soften into that. Later on in the relationship, I started to realize, oh, he's removing his heart more and more, because we were in love, and he had, I think, had never really opened his heart in the way that he had opened his heart to me, which freaked him out because he had childhood trauma around mother wounds and about heart-centered things. And so even when we talked about it after the breakup, he shared that, through the process of being in partnership with me, it terrified him so much, but he didn't know that his heart was that wounded. And so in order to protect himself, he put a wall around his heart, and he just kept distancing more and more and more from his heart. And the more he did that, the more controlling he got. And then that's eventually why I was like, yeah, I can't do this. Like, I actually can't live in that box. And so here's the interesting thing that happened. When we broke up, the breakup serves as grief, which grief is the vehicle back into an expanded form of love, but it's a very painful process. I have a YouTube video on that, on breakup and heartbreak, if you want to go check that out. I think it's on my podcast as well. But it opened his heart so much that he went into 2 years after that of crazy shadow work. I mean, this man is truly, 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 like, has a lot of masculine energy. So he sort of channeled all of this masculine energy right into his heart. And he was so diligent, like every morning for 2 years was journaling, was doing his gratitude journal, was doing his practice, was doing his shadow work, signed up for 500,000 courses. And we did stay in contact through that time. But the interesting thing is that throughout that process, he dropped so deeply into his heart, which is so beautiful. But he started expressing all of his emotions through his heart and not connected to his instinct. It almost like got too watery, and I actually was not attracted to him afterwards. And it really confused me at the time, because I remember thinking like, well, this doesn't make any sense. Here's a man that I have been in love with before, that I am attracted to, that's connected to his masculine energy, provides, loves my children, all of the things, and is now connected to his heart. Like, isn't this what I wanted, right? And this is a common thing, I think, for men on the journey. And it's a necessary part of the journey, if you haven't gotten to that part of your journey yet, to step into your heart, to open your heart, to allow the pain that is in there to be felt and to be integrated in a way that allows you to have this expanded sense of love for yourself and for others and for the planet and for your mission. But you can't stop there. You cannot stop there, because essentially being in that space of expressing emotions constantly is a feminine state, and feminine woman will be repulsed by that. And so it's not that you don't express your emotions, but you have to take that like the next step is taking that heart-centered awareness and bringing it down to instinct, so that you can instinctually, not logically, but instinctually know all of my emotions are valid. This is what they're telling me. This is where they're leading me. And they don't rock me off my center. I don't need to process my emotions every moment that they come up with a person or with my woman especially. I can have them be there informing me of what is good and true for me as a masculine being connected to my instinct. And then when I do share my vulnerabilities, it's from a place connected to I'm a man and I'm always moving toward safety. I think that's the main distinction, because I did get a question yesterday from a man that had said, why when I share my emotions does a woman basically walk away or doesn't like that? Why does that end the relationship? And this is probably the reason, is that if you're sharing your emotions from a place of unsafety, it's going to cause her to feel unsafe. And there's going to be a massive recoil in her biology of like, oh, I don't want this. This is not for me. But when you share your emotions from a place that's connected down to your lower 2 chakras, connected down to that instinct, the experience of her hearing your vulnerability and emotions is going to feel totally different, because you feel totally different relative to it. So Hopefully all that makes sense. I'm super curious to hear what you guys think. So let me know in the comments. I don't even know if there's comments on podcasting, but I'm probably going to post this to YouTube as well. So let me know how that lands, what questions you have, and we'll just keep the conversation going. If you're not already following me on my podcast, on my YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, those are my main platforms. Follow me all there. They do differ in content. They are not all created equal, especially TikTok is like where I get a little bit more, I don't know, wild. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this was useful, and I will see you soon.